Right, hello. This is a bit of a commentary short and aside to what I normally do on the Sisyphus complex solution. So anybody that's not familiar with what I do on that particular channel, go and have a look in episode 1 and that will give you an explanation. Then you can go through all the other ones and get up to speed. What I wanted to do in this particular commentary short is run through some data, because some people will know that, or some people used to know from a site that I was on that I now seem to have been removed from, so LinkedIn, that's for you. I run some numbers relating to what I call the Ponzi China virus. I've been doing it since the 15th of March. I did that on a daily basis up until around about the 24th of July, where I've done it periodically subsequent to that. And there's certain elements of data that, I mean, most people tend to rely on somebody else having produced information, somebody else having produced a pretty picture and all the rest of it, that it's not beyond anybody's capability to say, well, right, let me just download the data myself and see what kind of information I can actually develop to get an understanding as to what's going on. So there's a little fly going around. There's certain elements around this that I can't go back over everything that I've discovered over the entire period and that, because it wouldn't end up being a short, then it'd end up being about a 3-hour long program. There's a couple of little things that I thought, well, let's have a look and see what's going on right now. So I did run some data yesterday, so Sunday, looking at certain levels of data from Sunday that would have been too early in terms of the reported cases and deaths around the world. So I've got all of the data for 213 nations, though there are, within my information, there's 216, because the 3 territories of Guam, US Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico were taken off the list, and the only possible explanation I can think of for that is that they've been amalgamated into US data. So when you do come to take a look at what I'm going to show you, and that's the explanation as to why they've got red lines through it. So I'm literally going to get started by just showing the data itself. So it's no pretty pictures, no graphs, nothing like that. And if you want to pause and have a look at the data, you can see for yourself what's written in there. And I just want to highlight a couple of different points, because for anybody that needs to understand where am I getting my core data from, it's from Worldometer. So I get the core data from them, then I collate it in much wider fashion that I'll be showing here today. But you don't need, that's nothing. It's nothing to do with what I'm about to point out. Now, when it comes down to the percentage of people within a nation that have been allocated, because there's lots of dubious information around this, the ones that have been allocated and reported as having had the virus, and the ones that have reported, not necessarily true, but reported as having died from it. So those are anomalies that I've come across throughout the entire thing, but I'll leave that to one side in this. And people tend to talk about things like the mortality rate, and what is the real picture. And it occurs to me that the one rate that people never really look at is in terms of what that is compared to the population. And when you have a lot of panic porn out there, what does that actually mean in terms of the size of everybody's population? So what I've done here is I've got those numbers of cases, I've got those numbers of deaths, then I've got the population of each nation from March the 15th, and then up to, and then again comparing that to the populations on September the 13th. So we can get the case ratio and the mortality ratio based on the population, because at some point somebody's got to look at that and go, well, what does that really look like? What's the true representation in terms of your entire country? So I've got some highlights here, and I'm going to do this on a continent by continent basis, and then I'll give a couple of pieces of information at the end in terms of what the world picture looks like. And this is, to me, this is important because, and that's why I'm going to call this particular short commentary, ooh, scary, because it's farcical. So let's have a look at the entire population of Asia between the 15th of March and September the 13th. Initially it was just over, what is it, 4,583,634,244 on the 13th of September, 4,622,748,536. For those postmodernists that don't know how to do mathematics because they think it's a social construct, that means that the continent of Asia has increased by 39,114,292. Not exactly all falling by the wayside there, are they? So the largest increase, and this is one that's going to be, pay attention to this for later on, China's population has increased by 31,944,293. The second largest increase was from India, 2,823,386. The nations where the population has decreased: Japan, Lebanon, Vietnam and Georgia. I'm not entirely sure that I'd class Georgia as in Asia, but I'm going by Worldometer and how they want to set it out. Up to them. Japan's decrease in population is the highest amongst the decrease, and they've got 79,140 that has gone down. Now, that doesn't really mean anything at all, because the Japanese deaths were 1,436. So this is basically just a continuation of a problem that Japan has had for over 20 years now. So does that really mean anything at all? Not really. I mean, the other nations, Lebanon, Vietnam and Georgia, you're looking at 10,000, 1,000, 2,000. Not any great significant problems there. So in terms of what that means for the highest and the lowest rates of case to population, Qatar is the highest, with 4.22% of the population that have been reported as having cases of this ponzi China virus. The lowest, which is a figure that is actually quite representative of an awful lot of the nations, 0.00032% of the population have got cases in Laos, or Lao, whatever you want to pronounce it, I don't care. The highest and the lowest death ratios in Asia. The highest is Armenia, with a mortality ratio of 0.0309%. Not exactly what you'd call panic stations. That is the highest rate in the whole of Asia. Okay? As far as the lowest are concerned, then basically you've got Macau, Cambodia, Bhutan, Mongolia, Timor-Leste and Laos. And the reason why they're all the lowest is because they've had no deaths at all. So, not exactly looking like a scary picture at all. Why anybody would want to be getting the knickers and the twists around that, no idea. So, let's move into a continent where everybody is completely losing the plot. Europe. So here's the list of all the European nations. There's 50 of them. Oh, quick mention, there was 48 nations listed within Asia. So, the population in Europe during that period. So 15th of March, 758,877,862. 13th of September, 759,098,291. So the population of Europe has increased by 220,429. So we're not exactly all falling down and dying in the streets, are we? Now, the largest increase of population in Europe is, I'm sure everybody's going to be really, really shocked at this because of, you know, absolutely racist nation, white supremacists everywhere. The UK has had the largest increase. We must have all these white supremacists that are coming in, conveniently looking not exactly white, and coming in on boats from France, but hey ho. 73,754. The second largest increase, and I think this will decrease quite soon because, like I say, they're all coming over on the boats, is France, and they're 72,402. So, bit of an unusual one, that, isn't it? The UK has increased its population, considering that you have to have all these lockdowns everywhere, and that because, you know, everybody's dying apparently in such amazing numbers that the population increases. There are some strange anomalies within Europe though. Now, because when we get into the negative numbers, which countries are seeing a reduced population? Italy, Greece, Portugal, Romania, Poland, Serbia, Bulgaria, Croatia, Albania, Hungary, Belarus, Latvia, Bosnia, North Macedonia, Moldova, Lithuania, Ukraine, Gibraltar and Montenegro, all with population reductions. Now, amongst those population reductions, the most alarming one out of them is Italy. And they've gone down by 44,042. That's the largest decrease. The rest of them are anywhere between, well, Romania's got 26,000 that it's gone down. I mean, the vast majority of the ones within that list are within Eastern Europe. And so the explanation there is going to be the fact that since most of these have entered into European Union in particular, and others that are obviously able to have fairly easy access to Europe, it seems to me that's part of a continuation of the brain drain, where the numbers are not dramatic by any stretch of the imagination. So, for example, North Macedonia, it's only down by about 18. But you know, feel free to pause, have a look at the numbers yourself. It's all there for anybody to see. So the only one that comes as a little bit of a surprise is Italy. But again, the key point is the population of Europe has increased. Now, when it comes down to case ratios, so this, you know, great big panic that everybody's got to be in across Europe, and that for this massive disease that everybody's catching, where the largest percentage of the population that have reported the cases, San Marino, with 2.1% of their population reported cases. That's the largest one. Latvia has the lowest ratio at 0.078%. Again, we're not exactly talking about panic numbers here. So the mortality ratio by population. San Marino, unsurprisingly, 0.12%. That's the big panic station for San Marino. On the low end of the mortality, obviously, again, you end up with nations that have had no deaths at all. So that is the Faroe Islands, Holy See, Vatican, and Gibraltar. No deaths reported at all. For those people within the UK, obviously including myself, we'll have to highlight that one. So the UK's position is 0.537% of the population have got reported cases. Essentially what we're looking at there is 0.5% of the nation have been reported as having this case, having this illness. On the death side of things, 0.061%. Is that something that anybody should be panicked about and everybody lock down and start putting nappies on your face? Doesn't seem like anything that I should be overly concerned about. So let's move into North America. How have they done in North America population wise? 15th of March, 591,896,852. 13th of September, 593,018,319. Therefore, an increase in population, 1,121,467. You're noticing a pattern here. So the largest increase, again, one of these absolute shocks. I don't understand, because again, it's, you know, who would flock to white supremacists? The largest increase belongs to the USA, 401,957. Their population has increased by, despite massive devastation and nobody ever wanting to go to a white supremacist country. It's beyond, defies belief. Yeah. Second largest increase, Mexico, 282,343, which is a really unusual one considering they're supposed to have all been falling down dead in the streets literally everywhere, with or without a virus. So, negative side. Which nations have had a decrease in population? Martinique, Cuba, Puerto Rico, US Virgin Islands, Bermuda. Here comes one of these pronunciations. Saint Pierre and Miquelon. I'm assuming that's how you say it. Big numbers? No. Puerto Rico's down, the largest one down, with 14,773. The rest of them are more like with Martinique, because I mean most of these are small islands. Martinique 60, US Virgin Islands 32, Saint Pierre and Miquelon 13. This is, you know, no big deal. Certainly not something to indicate that anything dramatic is taking place. So the highest case ratio across all of those countries, of which there are 41, by the way, 41 nations listed for North America. Aruba got the most cases, 2.8% of their population, not the US. Strange one, when you consider. And the one with the least is St. Lucia, with 0.015% of their population cases. Again, nothing dramatic, is it? If I can have a look at the top myself, and that's so, let's have a look at the US. They are over 2% with cases, but still not the top of the pile. Right, so who's got the highest death ratio? There we do see the US coming top with an absolutely enormous, panic-inducing 0.059%. Within those nations of North America that have no deaths, therefore qualifying as the least, St. Vincent and Grenadines, St. Lucia, St. Bartholomew, Greenland, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Caribbean Netherlands, St. Pierre and Miquelon, all 0 deaths. You won't get this shit on the BBC, will you? Or CNN or whatever. Right, so Australia, Oceania. I've also got South America on this sheet as well now, because there's not that many nations. So Australia, Oceania, 7 nations, South America 14. Can fit them all on the one. Now Australia has got to be an interesting one, because I mean they've gone full on mental. I mean, Jesus Christ, you see, I mean, I'm sure people have seen the videos of how they're being treated out there, but anyway. So let's have a look at the populations for Australia, Oceania first. 15th of March population, 40,851,824. September 13th, 41,008,993, an increase of 157,169. So again, not exactly everybody dying out there, is it? I would imagine any eugenics freaks out there, and that's well, considering I know that there are eugenics freaks out there that are behind an awful lot of this crap having been created in the first place, they're really not very good at that job, are they? Something to do with them having been inbred. But there you go. Right, so the largest increase in the population goes to Papua New Guinea, 84,694. That's a bit of a surprise. I wouldn't have expected it to be Papua New Guinea. Australia comes in second with 61,774 increase. So, point being, no big deal. Are there any countries within those 7 nations that have gone negative in terms of population? No, not one. So, the highest and lowest case to population. French Polynesia is the highest, 0.339%. The lowest, Fiji, 0.0036%. Cases. The highest death ratio. And I can see how the Australians must be absolutely wetting themselves at this one. Are you ready, Aussies? Because this is a so scary number. Mortality ratio, 0.0032%. My God. Hide. Fuck you know. And the lowest, New Caledonia, because nobody's dead. What can you realistically, what can you say with all the shit that you see on the news, all of the bullshit measures that are coming in all over the bloody world, and yeah, real bloody numbers. So South America, the 14 nations, 15th of March population, 430,367,381. 13th of September, 431,500,445. An increase, 1,133,064. Increase again. The largest increase of population is in Brazil, another one of those countries where everybody's supposed to be literally dying by the second. They've increased by 313,528. Second largest increase, Colombia, 277,422. Now within South America, I wonder if there's anybody that can guess which nation could possibly have had a reduction in population. Anyone? Anyone? Beulah? Room has been made for all of those socialist fans in Venezuela, where their population has gone down by 16,490. Not as much as I'd have expected, but still room for those socialist lovers to make their way over there. See how they like it. There you go. So, highest case ratio. French Guiana, 3.17% of their population have the case. They have a case of the ponzi China virus. And the lowest number of cases in Uruguay, with a staggering 0.051%. Pay attention to that, Australia, as a comparison. So, Mortality ratio. Absolute panic stricken they should be in Peru, who have got the staggeringly high death rate of 0.093%. Oh. You really do need to go out and get your Pampers and that to catch all the shit, because you must be absolutely crapping yourselves everywhere. Falkland Islands are the ones that come in with 0 deaths. Can't exactly be a shocker there. Right, so there's 2 more. Not so scary. So the final one, Africa. 56 nations listed here. Population of Africa on 15th of March, 1,319,114,841. On the 13th of September, 1,330,588,049. An increase in their population of 11,473,208. Every single continent, population increase. So the largest increase in population, Nigeria, 2,720,354. Well, considering they're the ones that have got the bloody, was it what they call, Procol Harlem or whatever it is, I don't know, going around singing A Whiter Shade of Pale. They got the terrorists out there and they seem to be knocking off a fair few people, and they still seem to be growing. Second largest increase. Bob Geldof will be disappointed, perhaps, because they've gone up by 1,492,815. Not a single nation has lower population from 15th of March. So, the case ratios. Mayotte has the highest case ratio to population. 1.23% of the population have got the ponzi China virus. Tanzania has the lowest at 0.00085% cases. The highest death rate, once again, to population. South Africa, 0.026%. Countries with no deaths, Seychelles, Eritrea. Are there any other numbers that I've mentioned there in terms of cases and deaths that are making anybody out there piss their pants? Because if there is, there's something seriously wrong with you. So, how are we doing on the Ponzi China virus? Remember, 216 nations stated. However, when you look at Worldometer, they now report 213. I explained that in the beginning. Figure it out. Overall population of those nations, so just those nations. There are a few others, but just sticking with the populations of those that are supposed to be affected in some way or other. The population has increased by 53 million. How scary is that? With everybody dying, how scary is that? Making mention once again that when you get all of these eugenics freaks, and when you get all of these people that keep on saying that they're running the data, and we have to be very, very certain about the increase in population around the world because it's, lack of resources and all that sort of thing. And the one thing that they always say is Africa. Got to be careful about Africa. Africa as well. There's too much growth in Africa. They do rather forget that the population compared to the land mass really isn't that much of a big deal. But of the population increase, there you see China, 60% of it that they've taken up. I never hear them turn around and say China's going to end up with a bigger population. And remember, the whole Ponzi China virus comes from China. All those people that were supposed to, photographs, they're burning people. After they've all died in the streets and that, and they set fire to them. 60% of the increase of the world population is China alone. Africa, 22%. Europe's level is next to nothing, really, comparatively speaking. Was it 220,000? Something like that. Where's the number? Yeah, 220,000. No big deal. Except for the fact that they predominantly end up coming to us white supremacists in the UK. So the important part, really, and why you really do need to be hiding under the bed covers, the percentage of people around the world that have got this oh so panicky, let's all fucking hide, allow all manner of totalitarian regimes to take over our lives, stop us from meeting anybody, from going anywhere, put your face nappy on. 0.37% of the world population have got this poxy bloody thing, and even that's overestimated by their own admissions, because as I said, when I've been running the daily, the amount of times that they keep having to bring their figures down because they're misreported, and they still haven't made a lot of the changes that have actually had to be admitted, then the world mortality ratio, 0.012%. I know that there's been various calculations made where the reported mortality ratio, based on, I'm assuming, based on what they think the entirety of the case numbers are, not the population, but the case numbers, and they're working that at around about 0.26%. But surely, at the end of the day, when you're looking to see what impact something is having on the world, the end figure is based on how it's affected the population. And at this rate, somebody needs to be asking some questions as to why are you being bedwetters about it? What's the panic? What's with all of these rules and regulations and blah blah blah, aside from the obvious, which is falling in line with the Great Reset? And if you don't understand what the Great Reset is, look it up. So I thought I would give some numbers, let you know what the real situation is, without having to put it in pretty pictures and graphs and whatever. And that, like I say, have a look at the data on there. It's all data from what the governments provide to Worldometer. Then you can extrapolate out the basics from that. It's not difficult. You don't have to wait for the Lancet to set out their next let of lies. So, anybody out there that's still thinking of pissing their pants, putting a nappy on the face, grow the fuck up. Okay, bye bye.